Hi, it's Sarah from Crafty Creatures, and today we are painting our cactus in a pot painting. We're going to need our canvas panel, a pencil and eraser. We're going to need our paintbrushes and our paints. We're just going to use a few of these colors today. We'll need something to wash our brushes in, and we will need a ruler if you have one. Don't worry if you don't, you can just try your best to draw really straight lines. A ruler is just going to make it easier. So first things first, we're going to draw a line at the bottom of our canvas. We want to make sure our canvas is taller than it's wide, so we have lots of room. We're just going to very lightly draw in some lines just so we kind of can guess where we're going to put our pot. And using our ruler, we're going to draw in the lines of our pot. So we need the wider rectangle to be the brim of the pot. And then we'll make two angled lines. Make sure they're not too steep. And we're going to connect them to the ground line. That's the first line we drew. If you draw really light, it's a lot easier to erase. I'm drawing a little bit darker so you guys can see it. So we're going to draw in a nice big half circle shape with a little half circle or two coming off of the sides. Just don't make them straight up or down. Might look a little strange. And then we'll add a little spiky flower to the top. This is going to be our canvas. We're making a nice round shaped cactus. So just make sure you keep that space nice and round and that you have at least one little arm and a flower. I did two arms. Those are the little bits coming off the sides, but you just have to do one or two if you want. Next, we're going to draw some lines in our cactus. So we're going to make some lines, one straight in the middle, and then some curved lines to kind of divide up the space of our cactus. We want to think about a beach ball with all those divided shapes. So we want these lines to kind of curve around our little balls that make up our cactus. We're also going to add in two eyes. You can make them big or small, and a little happy mouth, and two little ovals for little cute blushy cheeks. Now you can make these features really big, you can make them really small. I like the size I did here. And then we're going to start painting. We're going to take our brown paint and our big paintbrush, and we're just going to fill in the ground line. This is where our pot is sitting on. And this is just going to make a nice good ground for us to start with. Now see how I'm going side to side with my brush and I'm smoothing out any really big lumps? That's going to help my paint to dry a lot better. It's going to look a lot smoother as well. Next we're going to paint the background, and we're going to paint it purple. Now I turned my canvas around. This is going to be a lot easier. That way we're not laying our hand onto our wet paint. And it also means that as we're painting around our pot, we can pull the brush a lot and we can go nice and slow along those edges. It helps keep them a lot smoother. And we want to make sure we have a fair amount of paint when we're going next to any sharp edges, because it keeps our paintbrush bristles together. It just makes it look a lot smoother in the end. Now I'm using my big brush for almost all of it. You want to use your big brush for all the big spaces, and if you need to use the little brush to get into some of those little tiny bits, don't be afraid to switch brushes. So here it is with all the purple finished, and now I'm going to paint in my pot with orange paint. You can paint it in different colors. I just liked the orange and the purple because it looks really bright, and then it makes my cactus stand out really well. Again, you want to make sure that you go nice and slow when you're going around the edges. Helps keep them nice and sharp and keeps everything looking really crisp. So for our next step, we're going to paint our cactus, but we're going to do some color mixing first. So we're going to use our smaller paintbrush. We don't want to use the big one just because if we mix with the big one, we are going to lose a lot of paint. So we're going to start by scooping out a couple of good sized globs of white, a bit of yellow, and some green, and we're going to mix that all together really well. The reason we add the yellow is to keep the color nice and bright. If we just used white and green, it would go a little bit pale, and we want to have a bit of warmth to this nice light green. And then we're going to start painting it in. I like to paint in as much as I can with whatever paint is still on my brush, and then I often will switch to my bigger brush once I've used up all the paint. I'm just using the little brush for now, just so that I can fill in the smaller balls of the cactus. Gives it a little bit more control. And again, notice how I am smoothing out my paint as I go. I'm not leaving really big globs of paint, especially on my cactus. This will just make our painting smoother. It's going to dry better, and we're going to lose less paint. If we leave a lot of big globs, we end up losing some paint. Now that I filled in those smaller sections, I'm going to switch to my big brush. Using the big brush wherever you can means your painting is going to be a lot smoother, and your paint will go on a lot nicer for you. So don't worry about going around the eyes. The eyes we're going to paint in black, but we do want to go around our cheeks and our mouth. So once our cactus is done, we're going to do some more color mixing. We're going to make some more of our light green, and then we're actually going to add a bit more green and a little bit of blue to it. This is going to make a darker shade, but we're still going to have the white in it, so it's going to be a bit pastel. And we're going to mix that really good till it's all one color. If you can see little swirls of other shades, you know, little bits of white, little bits of yellow, it means it's not quite mixed enough. So for this, we're going to use our brush that has a point. It's that nice skinny brush with a little bit of a point to it. And we're going to go over those lines we drew with our pencil. This is going to make those lines on our cactus. It's going to help give it a nice cactus texture. And I gave my big cactus an outline. That way it divides up my little cactus arms to my main cactus. But I kind of stopped in the middle. That way I could do this side of my cactus with the lines, and then I wasn't laying my hand on some of my darker paint and smearing it. Now to keep those lines nice and thin, don't press down too hard with your paintbrush. You just want to drag just the very tip of the paintbrush. And that's how you get those skinnier, thinner lines, which really works well for this cactus painting. And again, I'm kind of outlining around the outside to divide it between my big cactus and the arm. And then I'll come in and I'll do the lines on my little arms. And I added a little outline around these guys as well. So you can see there I pressed down a little bit too hard, so my line got a lot thicker. So I made sure on my smaller arm that I didn't press down quite so hard with my paintbrush. Just thickening up a few lines here and there. Then I'm going to wash that brush super well. And now I'm going to mix some light yellow. So I'm going to mix some white and some yellow, about equal amounts of each. And I'm going to use that to paint in my flower. Again, like the pot, you can paint this in with whatever colors. I just recommend these colors because they're going to stand out the best against that purple background, and they're going to match our cactus. Now I wanted to get fancy, so I added a bit more yellow and a bit of orange to my light yellow that I made. And I did some along the top of my flower here, while my paint was still very wet. And then I kind of feathered it into my yellow. And then I even went and added some straight orange to the very ends of this flower. You can see how it makes a really nice effect there. And again, I feathered it in to the rest of my paint. Next, let's clean our brushes, and we're going to make a nice light pink for our mouth and our cheeks. So you want to add a fair bit of white and just little bits of red at a time. Red is a very strong mixing color, so by adding little bits, we can really control how light or dark our color is going to be. And then we're just going to fill in our mouth and our little blushy cheeks to make our cactus very cute. If you want to make your cactus, you know, very angry or something, maybe don't add these little cheeks, but they look so cute. So next we're going to use the wrong end of our paintbrush, the small end, and we're going to dip it in black and use that to fill in the eyes. I'm going to go nice and slow, and if you make one a little bit bigger, try to make the other one to match. Don't worry if they're not perfect, just want them to look fairly round. Then for our final step, we're going to take our little pointy brush, I'm going to dip it in white, and we're going to use very short, light brush strokes to make the little spikes on the sides of our cactus. So notice how I'm kind of flicking my wrist just a little bit. It helps to make that nice, feathery, thin line. And again, I'm not pressing down too hard. I'm just kind of pressing down with just the very tips of my bristles. I'm just going to add a few along the arms, a few along the side, just here and there. We don't want to add too many because it might make our cactus look a little bit too spiky, but just here and there. Alright, good job everybody, and thanks for painting with me today. I'll see you next time with a new painting. Bye-bye.